excited to have you join us on Retiring Well this week. We got a great show mapped out for you. First, we're going to start off the show talking about Medicare basics. If you're nearing 65 or 65 and older, you're going to want to catch this and talk about all the details of Medicare. Then we have a special guest coming on studio today to talk about planned giving to a nonprofit and what that can look like for you and some of the advantages for that. And wrapping up the show, I'm going to talk about how retirement is just like 20 to 30 years of unemployment. Sounds interesting, right? Stay tuned for this and much more coming up next on Retiring Well.
Retiring Well. Brought to you by Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning and serving all of Northern Michigan. Retiring Well, helping you plan for a successful and comfortable retirement. Retiring Well. Plan to retire well.
One important aspect of retirement planning is Medicare. When I meet with a client who is approaching 65, I often hear a similar story. They can't believe how many pamphlets, mailings, and phone calls that they receive regarding Medicare. It can be overwhelming to sort through what is information, what are advertisements, and how to make sense of it all. So, what is Medicare? Well, Medicare is health insurance for people who are 65 or older. It's also for certain people who are under 65 with disabilities, and also for folks of any age with end-stage renal disease. Medicare is run by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, which is part of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Medicare is divided into three main parts. Parts A and B are Original Medicare, Part C is Medicare Advantage, and Part D is prescription drug coverage. The different parts of Medicare will help cover specific services. Part A, also called hospital insurance, helps cover inpatient care in hospitals, skilled nursing facility care, hospice care, and home health care. Part B, medical insurance or doctor's insurance, helps cover doctors and specialist appointments, outpatient care, occupational, and physical therapies. Eligibility for Medicare usually starts at age 65, although your initial enrollment period is a 7-month window. It begins 3 months before you turn 65, the month that you turn 65, and 3 months after. Most everybody should enroll in Part A when they turn 65, even if they already have health insurance from their employer. This is because you've paid, most likely, Medicare insurance, Medicare taxes while you worked, and there's no premium for Part A. Depending on your current coverage, people may delay in enrolling for Part B. However, if you don't enroll in Medicare when you're first eligible, you may have to pay a Part B late enrollment penalty, and you could experience a gap in your coverage. Overall, it's fair to say that Medicare can be complicated and confusing. Consumers need the guidance of an informed and trustworthy expert. So if you have questions about Medicare, enrolling in Medicare, or are looking to make changes to your current coverage, give us a call. We'd love to sit down with you and look at your specific situation.
Hey, welcome back. Hopefully you found that helpful, because if you're anywhere close to Medicare age or for Medicare to be a part of your plan, one of the things I would suggest is that you start your learning and start your learning curve. So many times out of the Cadillac office, I will have clients come in and they're nervous about this. It's confusing to them. They don't know where to start and they don't know who to trust. And so that's powerful times for us at Centennial Wealth Advisory to start that learning curve. We get to teach, we get to be trustworthy, and they always find some relief as they learn. I know, Nick, some of the questions that you get up in Gaylord are pretty specific. They go next level from that basic.
I mean, one of the benefits of working with us is here at Centennial Wealth, we're independent advisors. So we have the whole gamut of products to offer you, but we're going to suggest what meets your needs. And over in the Gaylord office, like Jack was saying, it sometimes get more than just the basics of Medicare, right? In fact, a recent case study where we had a couple come in and the one spouse was still working, but the other one was not. They were on the spouse's employer coverage, and yet the one was nearing age 65. So the big question for them was, okay, should they take Medicare for this non-working spouse getting to be the age of 65? And for them, it worked out that the husband planned to work for another 2 or 3 years, so they decided to delay Medicare. They didn't even know that was an option. So it's just so important to make sure that you understand not just the basics, but everything that there is with Medicare, right, Jack?
And asking the questions about, hey, here's what I'm trying to accomplish. Now, how can I best get there? And recently I had a lady out of Lake City who just said, okay, my mailbox has been full of stuff. I get calls. They want me to do all these things. What is Medicare? What am I required to do, and what can I do? Similar, Nick, where she didn't know what her options were, and so we were able to sit down and explain both of those. Medicare options, and then we were able to even get quotes and then figure out, hey, this is what it might cost. And I know there's a lot of relief when she got to see, an estimated budget for that. So, hey, stay tuned. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about planned giving, the power it can give you.
Every success story starts with a plan. The success of your retirement depends on a solid financial plan. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, we invite you to an informative live event to help you plan to retire well. There is no cost and no obligation, and dinner is on us. We are Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial professionals, specializing in retirement planning, serving all of northern Michigan, with offices in Traverse City, Cadillac, Petoskey, and Gaylord. Our presentation includes, is your retirement prepared for inflation? Do you know the true risk of your investments? What happens to your assets when you pass away? Do you have a tax plan? How does your income affect health insurance costs? And much more. Call 888-608-5825 to register and choose the date and location that works best for you. Wednesday, October 19th at Lakeside Charlie's in Cadillac, or Thursday, October 20th at BJ's in Gaylord. The live event starts at 6 p.m. and is free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow, but seating is limited and tends to fill quickly. Call 888-608-5825 to reserve your seats today. Don't miss this important live event to help you plan to retire well. Call 888-608-5825 today.
Swing with swing shift. Swing shift and the stars.
Hey, welcome to this segment on the power of planned giving. One of the favorite lines I've ever heard is actually from a book called Season of Life. And the line simply goes, find a mission other than yourself. And recently, we had a couple of retirees that had a lot of time, and they wanted to help find a mission other than themselves. What they didn't really understand is how tough that mission might get. So recently, we got to help out at the McBain Little Wheels preschool, where we were able to pour some cement, a track, and a lot of the volunteers were people that had retired. And so they were out in the hot weather, creating something that these 3- and 4-year-olds are going to be able to enjoy for years to come. And so whether it's financially or of time, there's a lot of different ways that you can find a mission other than yourself. Today we get to be joined with Becky Yuncker. She has an awesome mission that she is a part of. And so, yeah, Becky, do you mind telling us how did you get involved and what do you support?
Well, thank you so much for having me here. And you're right, having a mission, I think, can be so insightful for anybody. And, going from little kids up to adults, and when you finally retire, to have the able to time to give back to your community. And that's something I've always been passionate about. I've been involved with children's advocacy centers. So as the director of the Northern Michigan Children's Assessment Center, what we do is we really work with all ages of kids when there's concerns that they've been abused or neglected. And I think it's really heart-wrenching to hear those facts that 1 out of 10 children will be sexually abused by the time they're 18. So without children's advocacy centers, those kids really struggle through the system on where do I go, what do I do? Parents sometimes, how do I follow up on this when they have concerns that a child is being abused or neglected? So as the director of the Children's Assessment Center, what we really want to do is make sure that those kids have a safe place to come and tell their story and to get the help that they need. To get counseling, we provide counseling, we provide medical exams, we work real closely with law enforcement and Children's Protective Services. We really want to minimize the trauma that those kids are experiencing when they have to go through that investigation.
Yeah, and one of the things I saw on your website there was how you don't want to have them to relive the story over and over again. So can you walk through kind of, where you're located and then how you help take that situation and make it as best as it can possibly be?
So we have one main office in Roscommon that covers 4 counties. And then we have another office in Tawas that covers Iosco County. So ultimately together, we do cover, 5 to 6 counties depending on where those kids live. But what we do is we work closely with protective services and law enforcement. So instead of those kids having to go to the police department to be interviewed, they come to our center and we work together as a team. So everybody is there so that child only has to experience one interview. They're not being interviewed multiple times by multiple team members. And so we're making sure that they're being interviewed by someone who is trained and has the expertise to work with those kids.
And what kind of reward do you feel like you get from doing that, being on the front line, the kind of the tip of the spear, if you will, to really be their advocate for those vulnerable children?
Yeah. My office is right off of the waiting room, and one little boy who was being interviewed came in, was disclosing sexual abuse by an uncle that had been going on for years. And parents are anxious, sitting in that waiting room, and he walked out of that interview, he ran up to his mom, he gave his mom a big hug, and you could just see that sigh of relief and said, they're going to help us. And they're like, just had a whole conversation with his mom about how he felt believed and then how, he felt like this wasn't going to happen anymore.
And so what are some typical ways that you do help? So yeah, there's the child that you're going to be able to help, but then also, with some of the other resources for maybe the parents and the families.
Yeah, so we have advocates that work with families all the time. We have advocates that provide that family with services all the way through the system. And then we do all the counseling, and all of our services are free of charge.
That's awesome. Hey, listen, we're going to be able to have another segment here and hear more from Becky and what she does, how she can give you some information about maybe some areas that you might want to get involved, whether it's your time or your money or maybe both. So stay tuned. Coming back, we're going to get some more. Thanks.
If you're retired or approaching retirement in the next 5 to 10 years, join us for an informative live event. This event is all about you, the challenges you face, and the information you need to help you build the future that you want. There's no pressure to become a client. Our goal is to simply give you valuable information that you can use to make smarter financial decisions. We hope that by the time you leave this event, you'll be one step closer to your retirement goals.
It's your retirement. How will you live it? How will you be remembered?
Will you be able to take me on vacation? Will you be there for my ball games? Will you teach me your values? Will you be able to play with me? Oh, help me go to college. How will I remember you?
Have the retirement you dream about. Contact us today.
You made it. Years of hard work, investing, planning, and now you're here. The long-awaited reward you spent a lifetime looking forward to. But what now? After years of growing a nest egg, now you may want to manage it. Use it to fund your dreams. Make it last as long as you need it. And leave some for those you love. So what do? Wall Street continues to be uncertain, and some conservative options have dropped through the floor. How do you maintain opportunities for growth and reduce risk of loss from market changes? That's where we come in. We are financial professionals. From investments and insurance products to tax reduction strategies and guaranteed retirement income you cannot outlive, provided by the claims-paying ability of insurance companies. You've worked a lifetime to get here. Let us help you enjoy it to the fullest. For a complimentary consultation, simply contact us today.
Hey, welcome back to a really cool segment on the power of planned giving. You know, a lot of times people will save up this money in these different retirement accounts, and they have the money, they might not have the mission yet. And so part of what we're doing here is to give you different ideas of where your money or your time might want to go to help impact your legacy and just have the power of giving, okay, and what that makes you feel like. So we'll continue on. So if you were following us here, you got to see Becky kind of talk about some of the services, but you get to coordinate a lot of services. So can you talk into that a little bit, please?
You know, in order to help these kids heal from their abuse, it takes a whole effort. You know, we work closely with all of our partners to ensure that these investigations are occurring in a way to help these kids heal, which also the community needs to get involved. You know, we give bookmarks out to the community that teach kids body safety. So we're always using volunteers to help us spread the word and get that material out to the schools. And we had one mom call the center, and she received the bookmark, came home from school, and it was just teaching kids those body safety rules, and she was reading it to her daughter, and her daughter ended up disclosing being sexually abused by a neighbor. And the mom had called us and said, I'm not sure without this information that she would have ever told me. So with that then, she was able to call our center, get the support that she needed. We brought that little girl in for an interview, disclosed her abuse, and now we can get her the help that she needs. But it takes a whole community to be able to make programs like this work.
That's awesome, the awareness that you're creating, yes, okay, by some of those. And then, so let's say that people wanted to donate time or money. Yeah. How might they go about that?
Volunteers are so important. We use volunteers in our waiting room. Like I said, we have two offices. We have our Roscommon and our Tawas. Sitting with a child, reading a book to them, you know, while they're there waiting for their appointment. A lot of our volunteers really get a lot out of. Volunteering at fundraising events. We always need somebody to plan a fundraising event for us. We do rely a lot on just fundraising donations. And so doing that planned giving also, if you have that extra income and want to donate it to a cause, you know, the Northern Michigan Children's Assessment Center is one of several nonprofits. So really, I just encourage your listeners to kind of find out what their passion is and help support it in whatever ways they can.
Yeah. You know, and that's so true. Many times, you know, in our seats here at Centennial Wealth Advisory, well, we come across clients that have a trust, or they have this money that upon their death it needs to go somewhere. And so, you know, there are multiple different strategies to make sure that that money can go directly where you want it to go, have the lasting impact that, you know, you might not be around to see, but your legacy can live longer. So, you know, what about one last, is there there a big goal? Is there a big bucket list item, that you're working on right now, a big project that you might be?
Well, eventually we are going to need a new building.
Okay.
Sadly, we are continuing to grow and expand. Our numbers are increasing, but ultimately what we are also doing is providing the therapy services that we need. And so as we continue to grow to meet the needs of our community, we are probably going to be looking for a new building here too. We do have an endowment, so people can donate to our endowment, people can donate to the center. There's just a lot of ways people can get involved.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully you found that valuable as you might have got some ideas about how you might be able to take some of that time you might be finding in retirement, or if you have some money now that you want to put to a specific mission. We're glad that we can bring you these ideas. So stay tuned. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about retirement, 20 to 30 years of unemployment. What does that look like? Stay tuned.
Remember when life was simpler? When things didn't move quite so fast, and the world didn't seem so complex? Remember that? We do. And as the world around us has continued to speed up, becoming more complicated, and still a bit uncertain, we have managed to keep things simple, providing sound, easy-to-understand financial advice and customized roadmaps for the road ahead, from tax reduction strategies, investment advice, and guaranteed retirement income you cannot outlive, backed by the claims-paying ability of insurance companies. We can be your single point of contact, a single call, a voice you recognize well, and a partner who can be by your side for the entire journey. We can't stop the world around us, but we can help ensure you're prepared for what's to come. To schedule a no-obligation meeting, simply contact us today.
Are you retired or approaching retirement in the next 5 to 10 years? Join the Centennial Wealth Advisory team for an exciting presentation with complimentary gourmet dinner and learn essential financial strategies for a comfortable retirement. Call 888-608-5825 to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Call 888-608-5825.
Financial planning is more than just providing for yourself. It's making sure your loved ones are taken care of. It's preserving and protecting what you've worked for all those years. It's leaving a legacy to your children and grandchildren. It's providing a level of stability and security. Planning is the first step to succeeding. Plan to retire well.
Now, I don't want to scare you, but think of retirement as this. It's like 20 to 30 years of unemployment. Have you ever been unemployed or laid off? There's fears with that, right? Where is my income going to come from? And what am I going to do? How long is this going to last? Think of it. Retirement's the same way, right? Where is the income going to come from? How long am I going to last? How long am I going to live? And so when we think about planning for retirement, there's that mindset of there, and it can be scary, and rightfully so for some people. So when you're thinking of unemployment and retirement, where is that income going to come from? Well, potentially you're somebody that's paid into the Social Security system, so that's a form of income coming in, maybe kind of like unemployment, right? Sometimes there's a certain amount of time of that's going to happen and stuff like that. Where is your income going to come from to make up that difference? Are you fortunate to have a pension? Have you saved in a 401k or IRA or something similar to that maybe you need to help turn that into a paycheck? Again, think 20 to 30 years. This potentially, is going to be a long time that you're going to be in this situation, so we have to plan for that. how long is this income going to last me? You know, when we're looking at these different sources, hopefully Social Security is there for your lifetime, right? Pension, hopefully that's there. But when you're building this paycheck out of this savings you have, 401k, IRA, the likes, you know, how long is that going to last? Well, for most people, you know, you want your money to last longer than you do, right? You know, you don't want your money to run out before you do. And at the same time, depending upon your situation, we have all kinds. We have some people that want to leave a great legacy, and other people, one of the funniest things I think I've heard one of our clients say is, hey, I want to bounce my final check to the funeral home. And you know, but the disadvantage to us as planners, and usually you as well as a retiree, is we don't know when that day is going to be, right? We don't know when that exactly is, so we have to plan for longevity and assuming you're going to live longer. You know, the other thing I always talk about people, and this is not financial, but when you get into retirement, we have these plans, we build all this stuff out and talk about income and investment and taxes and estate planning and long-term care planning, health insurance planning, all these various things that we help our clients with. But what are you going to do with your time in retirement? You know, that personal piece of this journey as well. So often, you know, there's this push to get to retirement, you know, maybe so you don't got to get up and hit that alarm clock every morning and punch in or whatever it may be. But what are you going to do with your time as well? You know, if you were ever unemployed, you know, you have all this time now, you know, home projects, you know, there's a lot of those that probably can happen, right? But eventually you're going to probably get those caught up. So what are you going to do? So if you're thinking about retirement and concerned that it's like 20 to 30 years on unemployment, make sure you have a financial plan. We'd love to help you on that journey so you can plan to retire well.
You know, so many times we will have clients come in and they'll have a stack of papers and they kind of set it out there down on our table and they say, hey, I want to retire. And we look at that here at Centennial Wealth and we're like, okay, this is a good start. Sometimes they kind of classify it as a plan, and we look at that and we say, well, maybe we should talk through all parts of the plan. You know, I have a quick little analogy that just happened to me recently. If you watch the show, you got to see the Lake City show where my dad's boat, the Moomba there, was a part of the show. Well, what has been happening lately with the Moomba is that it does not idle very well at all. You know, you can get it started and you can be revving it up, but it's actually become a little bit dangerous because it doesn't stay running when it's first starting up on that cold start. And so as you're maneuvering around the dock and with kids and people, you know, it's been a bad situation. Well, I had a client that ended up being a master mechanic, and he was rebuilding his son's Moomba. And so he came over, and I was absolutely blown away at what he was able to do to the Moomba. He was able to fine-tune the running of that motor. He had all his gadgets and all the different things that he used, but you turn that Moomba on and it just idles and it revs exactly like it should, and it's been fine-tuned. And so now that fear and that danger of that situation when you get in the boat is gone, and it's changed how we experience the water right now. And I cannot help but make that analogy over to what we find on the retirement side, where people are facing something that's really big, sometimes dangerous. They don't know how to go forward because they're looking at 20 to 30 years of unemployment. So you have some big examples.
That's our job, right? I mean, that's a great segue. We are the master mechanics of your retirement. I mean, that's what we love to do. And there's so many different pieces of that retirement that need fine-tuning. It's not just that bundle of statements that you plop on our desk. There's so much more involved in that. The tax planning side, health insurance side. You got 20, 30 years of unemployment. Where's your income coming from? Right? You've got IRAs, maybe Roth accounts, non-qualified accounts, all these different retirement assets that you have. Where are you getting that paycheck from? And that's where we come into play. I mean, that's our job. Let us be the master mechanics of your retirement. So I hope you found this episode valuable. Please tune in each and every week. We've got lots of great information that we just love to share with you guys. And don't forget to check us out on YouTube as well. Take care.